Ned's declassified school survival guide was your childhood, you definitely remember Martin Quirley, the kid who talked a mile a minute. Well, the actor behind that character, Tyler Chase, is currently at the center of a really heartbreaking story that's left a lot of fans crushed. A fan of the show recognized him on the streets of California and took some pictures. Soon after, videos and photos started circulating on TikTok showing him homeless. People recording him would ask who he was, and he'd confirm, "I'm Tyler Chase," which left the fan base in total shock.
Hello, my name is Tyler Chase, and I'm here on a Christian movement for acting.
Immediately, social media was flooded with comments. Is this real? How can we help? Where is he? Tyler is currently 36 years old and, by the looks of it, has fallen on really hard times. The fan who found him started a GoFundMe to raise money for him. But once the story went viral, a relative of the actor reached out to the fan running the donation page. They dropped a bombshell. Tyler is apparently living this way by choice. They claimed he can't manage money and ends up selling everything he owns to buy illicit substances. Once that info came out, the donations eventually dried up. Other cast members spoke up about the situation, including Daniel Curtis Lee, who played Cookie. He said he went to visit Tyler thinking it would be a nice reunion, but reality hit him hard. He shared a really important message for the fans who spotted Tyler and wanted to help. Daniel said Tyler is surrounding himself with dangerous people in a very unhealthy environment. He described Tyler as disconnected, incoherent, with involuntary movements and a lost look in his eyes. He thinks he might be under the influence, though he clarified it could also be mental health issues. He said he couldn't even have a normal conversation with him, just short answers. But despite that, Daniel felt that Tyler's essence was still there, that he's still a noble person with a warm spirit. Daniel was clearly emotional about it. He remembered how smart, creative, and brilliant Tyler used to be, and seeing what he's become broke his heart. He even mentioned they both ended up crying because, at the end of the day, they were just two friends facing a brutal reality. He also begged people to stop recording him for content. He said shoving a camera in his face strips away his dignity and only hurts him more. He insists Tyler deserves respect, not to be treated like a sideshow.
I don't know why I thought it was gonna be like sunshine, roses, everything's good, oh, your old friend is here, and you know, it's cool now. Oh man. There were a lot of emotions brought up. He deserves dignity, man. Yo, man, how you doing, man? And he said, oh man, I'm good. And you know, like, it wasn't good. Like, the whole environment, the people around there, unhealthy, going through it, man, like, just, oh, when we have to just be grateful and have gratitude for what we have, guys, because it can be a million times worse, man. It can be a million times worse. And we're praying for Tyler that he can make a full recovery from whatever it is. And I don't want to pin it on substances because it could be mental health as well. Due to substances, you never know. But guys, man, be grateful for what you have. And it could be any one of us dealing with that exact same situation. And I don't know what to do to help. I really don't know what to do to help, but I gave him a friend today, and I want to come back and catch him on a day where maybe he's not, encumbered by substance or whatever it is, because I saw him on some of Lolly's other posts where he looked a lot more coherent than he was with me just then. And I gave him a friend today for the brief time that I was out there. But we're praying for Tyler, sending love to him and his family. And guys, stop putting that camera in his face, man. It's not cool. All right, peace.
Next up, a couple faked their son's cancer to scam thousands. Police arrested a pair of parents after it was discovered they shaved their own son's head to pretend he had cancer, playing on people's empathy to raise cash. They spread the story all over social media, posting photos of the kid bald, looking weak, and supposedly in treatment, managing to convince a ton of people they were facing a serious illness. Basically, one day last November, the mom was broke and desperate. Instead of picking up extra shifts, she hatched a master plan to make some quick money. She decided to fake that her eldest son had eye cancer. She told the dad the idea, and I guess he was like, sure, sounds good. That's when the mom got to work. She grabbed the kid, shaved his head, shaved off his eyebrows, sat him in a wheelchair, sold the narrative that he just came from radiotherapy, and announced to the world that her son had cancer. Between November and now, just a few weeks, they raked in thousands of dollars in donations. The scam fell apart when doctors actually examined the kid and confirmed he had zero illness. No cancer, nothing to justify what his parents were claiming. It was all staged. Police stepped in, the parents were arrested for fraud and child abuse, and the boy was removed from their custody and placed with social services. The most disturbing part isn't even the financial scam, it's the psychological damage to the kid, who was used as a prop to lie, generate pity, and get money.
But in November of 2024, Michelle shares some bad news with her friends and family. She says she recently brought her son to the hospital for an eye injury, and while they were there, doctors discovered he had cancer. Michelle posts specific details on social media, saying her son has 3 tumors on and around the optic nerve. She receives a ton of sympathy on her posts, and she uses her online platforms to ask for donations. She also reaches out for help from other parents at her kids' private school, and they're happy.
Mother helps her fugitive son flee the country. A mom and her son were arrested right at Miami International Airport moments before their plane took off. She was trying to smuggle her fugitive son out of the U.S., but agents boarded the plane in front of all the passengers and handcuffed them right there in their seats. Here's the backstory. The woman was trying to get her son out of the country because he was wanted for involvement in a fatal accident during an illegal street race. The guy is 20 years old and is accused of causing the death of another young man during a clandestine race in New Jersey. He was racing at high speeds against another driver when he lost control of his car. He crashed into multiple vehicles, and one of them ended up flipping violently. Hours later, police identified him thanks to cameras and witnesses. The driver who caused the tragedy was charged with second-degree murder and nearly a dozen other counts. We're talking vehicular homicide, leaving the scene and endangering the lives of others. The worst part? The mom. Instead of turning him in or telling him to face the music, she decided to help him escape. She organized the whole plan, drove over 1,200 miles to Miami, and bought tickets for an international flight. Look at this madness, arrested and chained up at the airport trying to flee the States. The problem for them was that authorities were already tracking them. The FBI, along with NJ and Miami police, followed their every move until they intercepted them at the gate. Just when they thought they were free, they got busted in front of everyone. Now, not only is he facing serious time, but his mom could also end up in prison for aiding a fugitive. Cop frees prisoners to hang out on New Year's. At the end of 2024, right during the New Year's celebration, something so absurd happened it sounds fake, but it's completely real. In Zambia, a police officer showed up to his shift drunk and decided that spending New Year's working wasn't a vibe. Instead, he grabbed the keys to the station's cells and started releasing detainees one by one so they could spend the holiday partying with him. In total, 13 prisoners were set free, some accused of serious crimes like robbery and assault. The cop told them they were free to celebrate, drink, and ring in the new year with him, as if they weren't, arrested. He literally just let them go on an alcohol-fueled whim. Hours later, when other officers arrived and realized what happened, it was too late. Most of the detainees had vanished. The cop himself was arrested shortly after, still under the influence. The most surreal part is that, according to reports, the officer acted like it was no big deal, like he just did a nice little New Year's gesture. Drunk police officer frees 13 prisoners to celebrate New Year's with them and then says, "Well, I had a good time, basically," and sees no conflict.
An officer under the influence released several prisoners so they could join him to party. According to witnesses, the visibly drunk cop decided to open the cells, justifying it by saying no one should spend New Year's alone. Local authorities confirmed the incident, noting that while some prisoners actually came back, others took the opportunity to escape. The officer has been detained and faces charges of negligence and abuse of authority. Officials are calling the whole thing grave and embarrassing.
The Sister Honk catfish nightmare. The case of Sister Honk went absolutely viral in China after the internet found out that the wholesome, elegant influencer was actually a man named Yao who had been scamming people for years. On social media, she looked like a calm, well-put-together woman who spoke softly and built trust fast. A lot of guys thought she was just a content creator, someone approachable and different from the usual internet models. But in reality, Yao was using wigs, makeup, filters, women's clothes, and even a voice modulator to pass as a woman. He'd hit up men on dating apps and social media, offering to meet up for zero cash. The only thing he asked for? Simple stuff like food, fruit, cooking oil, groceries, or cheap trinkets. It made the whole thing seem harmless, which is exactly why so many guys fell for it. But when they got to her apartment, they'd meet this polite, caring female figure only to get drugged or drunk. Once they were out of it, Yao would film them hooking up using hidden cameras, obviously without their consent. Here's where it gets dark. He sold those videos in private chat groups behind a paywall, like some kind of exclusive catalog. He even leaked clips himself just to hype up his business. At first, rumors said he tricked about 16 guys, but the authorities shut that down fast. The real number was way higher. The official report identified at least 237 victims, and they think there could be even more. The whole scheme blew up when a fitness influencer actually recognized himself in a leaked clip. He went straight to the police, which led them to Yao's apartment where they found all the devices and receipts. The case became a massive media circus. There were memes, jokes, and people getting caught cheating because of the leaks. But behind the clout, there were real victims whose privacy was violated. Many were too scared to press charges because they didn't want to be outed or shamed publicly. There were also rumors that Yao had an STD and wasn't warning anyone. Police said social media exaggerated that part, but admitted it was definitely a public health risk. Now Yao is facing serious charges for recording and distributing non-consensual intimate content. He's looking at significant prison time. Update, it turns out some guys actually discovered Sister Honk's real identity during the meetups and got violent. But Yao would threaten to call the cops or claim he had security cameras and would leak the footage if they didn't chill. That blackmail is exactly why this ring of illicit videos stayed secret for so long. Alpinist live streams his own unaliving. This story went global because of how shocking it was. A 23-year-old climber named Miller from Alaska tragically died while scaling El Capitan in Yosemite, and the whole thing was caught on a live stream. Miller was a well-known figure in the climbing community, a total prodigy who loved sharing his passion online. If you followed the scene, you knew him in his iconic orange tent. People loved his content because he showed the reality of life on the mountain, not just the extreme sends. That day, he was on a route called Sea of Dreams, one of the most technical, grueling walls on El Capitan, over 2,900 feet high. Thousands were watching live. He had actually completed the main route and was prepping his gear to descend. He was trying to retrieve a piece of equipment that got stuck, but his rope wasn't long enough. That's when the fall happened. He fell approximately 2,300 feet. The footage is obviously incredibly distressing. His comment section instantly flooded with rips from followers, fellow alpinists, and pros who were devastated by the loss. It's another heartbreaking addition to the list of creators who accidentally documented their final moments.
Oh my.
Parents abandoned their kid at the airport. A family went on vacation thinking everything was chill. But when they got to the airport, they were told their 10-year-old son couldn't board. His passport was expired and he didn't have the right visa. Normal parents would cancel the trip or rebook, right? Not these two. They decided to leave the 10-year-old alone in the terminal and boarded the plane with their 3-year-old so they wouldn't miss their vacation. They literally told the kid to wait in the public area for a relative to come get him. Airport staff eventually found him wandering around. When they asked what he was doing, he just said, "My parents are on the plane." Staff immediately called security and the police. They stopped the flight before takeoff. The pilot even got on the intercom asking if anyone left a minor behind. Dead silence. No one owned up to it. The civil guard had to board the plane, check the passenger manifest, and drag the parents off. They said they didn't do anything wrong, they just didn't want to waste the tickets and a relative was supposedly on the way. They tried to justify it by saying the kid lacked a visa, so they just left him. Authorities obviously weren't having it. They were taken to the station along with the 3-year-old. The internet is furious. Psychologists are saying this is core memory trauma territory, that feeling of abandonment at 10 years old is damaging. The public reaction sums it up. "I'm actually hallucinating." How does it fit in anyone's head to leave a 10-year-old at a terminal over paperwork? Even if a relative is coming in 30 minutes or 3 hours, you don't just hop on a flight and vibe. As a mom, I'm spiraling. I panic if I lose sight of my kid for a second, let alone flying to another country without them. The parents are now facing serious legal consequences, potentially jail time, and social services are evaluating if they should even keep custody of the child. The girl who was with 100 guys in 24 hours. So, an adult content creator from the UK named Lily Phillips went absolutely viral after publicly claiming she hooked up with 100 men in a single day. It was all part of a challenge filmed for her spicy content platforms. And honestly, this didn't come out of nowhere. Lily was already a known name in the scene. She went on podcasts and interviews explaining that the whole thing was planned way in advance. Everyone participated voluntarily, and she even had a full crew filming the process. That's why a lot of people actually believed her. It wasn't just some random throwaway comment on social media, it was something she owned and defended multiple times. Obviously, the internet was divided. Some people were hyping her up, saying her body, her choice. Others dragged her, arguing she shouldn't try to pass this off as a record since there's no official organization to validate something like that. There's no plaque, no rule book, just her word and the footage she posted. But the reason this blew up so hard is that it sparked a huge debate about how far people will go for clout, how the adult industry actually works, and how social media can make anything famous in a matter of hours, no matter how controversial. So, that's Lily Phillips, the girl who was with 100 guys in 24 hours. Actually, 101 for good luck. And when I say with, I mean doing the deed. It seems Lily Phillips had a vision and she nailed it. But speaking of wild stories, let's talk about the case surrounding D4VD. D4VD, real name David Anthony Burke, is a 20-year-old singer from Houston, Texas. He blew up on TikTok and Spotify thanks to bangers like Romantic Homicide, which has over 1 billion streams. His dark, melancholic aesthetic really clicked with Gen Z, selling out concerts in minutes. He's basically considered the next big thing in alternative music. But behind that image of fame and success, a dark story started surfacing. It's turned into a massive scandal that's put Hollywood in the hot seat and grabbed attention way beyond the US. It starts with a teenager named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She went missing in April 2024 at just 13 years old. She was living a normal life with her family in California until she just vanished. Fast forward to September 2025, Celeste's body was found inside an abandoned Tesla in the Hollywood Hills. The scary part? The car was registered to David himself. The initial forensic report suggests this wasn't a crime of passion or something random, it was carefully planned. The wounds found on the body had characteristics linked to ritualistic practices, specific cuts and body positioning that mirror symbols associated with cults, modern occultism, and urban legends about soul harvesting. Later, investigators found out she had some sketchy contact with David on social media back when he was already blowing up. Family members and witnesses claim they had an inappropriate relationship for nearly 2 years. DMs, matching tattoos, and supposedly even an unreleased song written just for her. Naturally, this has thrown massive suspicion on the singer. But what takes this from a typical media scandal to straight-up horror movie territory is the working theory authorities are looking into. Criminologists and lyric analysts are suggesting David might be tied to a secret ritualistic group, basically an esoteric cult that allegedly practices sacrifice to gain power, creativity, and spiritual transcendence. Some people are convinced his songs and posts have hidden messages, though obviously none of this is officially confirmed yet. Insiders have pointed out that Celeste might have been recruited through TikTok, where David used to post videos with a super weird symbolic vibe, things like withered roses is symbolizing lost purity and veiled references to romantic homicides. People are now interpreting these as red flags for actual human offerings. I didn't unalive her physically, but in the back of my mind she died. And I didn't even cry, not a single tear, so it's not like the thought of her gone by itself was something that she did, it was something I had to do. Music experts think these lyrics sound eerily similar to messaging used by actual cults. Meanwhile, authorities are investigating if anyone else in the entertainment industry is involved. Producers, managers, anyone who might be part of this shadow network connected to the death of the minor found in David's car. Because of the scandal, David canceled his tour on September 19th, citing unforeseen circumstances. But the internet is asking, why hasn't he been arrested yet? There are just too many red flags. Rumors are flying on social media that powerful people in the music industry, influencers, and even politicians are pulling strings to protect their own, stalling the investigation and scrubbing the internet of evidence. While Celeste's family continues to hold vigils demanding justice, David is staying out of the public eye, hiding out in his mansion, maybe even working on new music. Juliana Marin's story started out as the ultimate dream trip. She was a 26-year-old from Brazil who had been backpacking through Asia for months, a total nature lover who had been planning this adventure for ages. But in June 2025, everything changed on Mount Rinjani, an active volcano in Indonesia famous for its height and how brutally hard it is to climb. That day, Juliana was hiking with a tour group and a guide. At some point, she got exhausted and asked to take a break. Instead of waiting, the guide kept moving with the rest of the group, leaving her behind. That's when she slipped and fell down a cliff, dropping about 300 meters, almost 1,000 feet. From that moment on, the search turned into a nightmare. We're talking heavy rain, thick fog, and terrain so unstable that every step felt like sinking into beach sand. Rescuers couldn't get close. Drones could barely see through the mist, and the zone was incredibly dangerous. Still, a group of tourists managed to capture drone footage from above, and they saw Juliana moving her arms. That gave thousands of people hope that there was still time to save her. Back in Brazil, her family was desperate. They launched an Instagram page called Rescue Juliana Marines to ask for help and post updates. In just a matter of hours, they hit over 1 million followers. On that page, they exposed how messy the situation was. They said Indonesian authorities were giving them confusing info claiming she had been found, that she was given food and water, that she was stable, but none of that was confirmed. In fact, people on the ground said they could hear her screaming for help, but the fog and the terrain made it impossible to reach her. Juliana's dad even flew all the way to Indonesia to help with the rescue, but progress was agonizingly slow. In one day, the teams only descended 250 meters, with another 300 to go. Meanwhile, 2 helicopters tried to get close but were grounded by the weather. What shocked the world the most were those drone photos showing she was still alive. It sparked a massive debate online. Why didn't the guide help her right when she fell? Why did they wait so long to report it? And why was the official story so contradictory? Media outlets even interviewed the tourists who were with her, and their stories didn't match the guide's version. After 4 days of near impossible work, rescuers finally reached Juliana. They found her immobile and lifeless. They explained that she didn't fall directly into the crater, but into a hollow covered in volcanic sand so soft that any attempt to climb out caused it to crumble. It was like trying to climb a wall made of dust. Her family confirmed the news on Instagram, thanking everyone who had been following the story. But now, so many questions remain unanswered. How prepared was that guide? Why did he leave her behind? Who gave the order not to intervene sooner? The only thing we know for sure is that thousands of people watched this unfold in real time, hoping for a different ending. If that guide had done the right thing at the right moment, or reported the accident to civil defense immediately instead of waiting, maybe Juliana would still be here. So, what actually happened to her? She was down there for 4 days. The autopsy report determined that Juliana suffered multiple falls. The terrain was so unstable that she likely fell, survived, and then fell again. The impact caused severe internal damage and hemorrhaging. Everything points to her passing away between Tuesday, June 24th and Wednesday, June 25th. The theory is that early Saturday morning, after the initial fall, she was alive and seemingly okay. That's when the drone caught her. But out of desperation, she likely tried to climb out, slipped again, and took a second fatal fall. It's believed she passed away about 20 minutes after that second impact. Switching gears to something heavy that just happened in NYC. In the early hours of October 4, 2025, 2 young girls were found dead in the subway, specifically on a J train near the Marcy Avenue station in Brooklyn. One was 12, the other was 13. Everything points to them trying the infamous subway surfing challenge that's been circulating on social media for a while now. If you don't know what this is, it's basically climbing onto the outside of a moving train, usually the roof, filming yourself up there and posting it. The whole appeal is just the adrenaline rush of the train taking off with you on top of it. The worst part, the internet is flooded with videos of this. People dancing, walking, or just standing on top of trains like it's normal. Some get off and go viral, others don't. And this isn't an isolated case. Between 2024 and 2025, the NYPD reported that the majority of people arrested for this were teenagers. There have even been cases involving really young kids. Despite the tragedies, the challenge keeps popping up on our feeds. And here's the uncomfortable truth, a lot of us did dumb stuff when we were young. Climbing dangerous things, jumping off stuff just to impress our friends. The difference is, back then it stayed between friends. Today, everything is recorded, everything is uploaded, and the reward isn't just your friends thinking you're cool, it's thousands of strangers watching you. Then there's the heartbreaking story of Irina Sarutka. She was a young woman from Ukraine who had escaped the war with her mom and siblings. They moved to the US to start from zero, and things seemed to be looking up for her. But on August 22nd, while she was riding the light rail in Charlotte, North Carolina, something terrible happened. Security footage shows Irina texting her partner saying she'd be home soon. Suddenly, a man in a red jacket sitting behind her stands up and stabs her in the neck 3 times with a sharp object. No warning, no clear motive. Police caught the guy, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, who had a long history with the law. But the most disturbing part, the other passengers barely reacted. It was like they didn't even see it happening. Irina just sat there crying, thinking she was gonna die. Later, Brown gave a delusional explanation for the attack. He said materials inside his body forced him to stab her. He claimed he didn't know her, but insisted she was reading my mind. When authorities interviewed him, he doubled down on the mind-reading claim. His sister later explained that he suffers from paranoid schizophrenia and was convinced the government had put a microchip in his brain. She also admitted he had been violent before and had even attacked her in the past. When this story broke, there was a massive outcry for the death penalty. For now, he's awaiting sentencing, but the case leaves us with so many questions about mental health, public safety, and how we can prevent tragedies like this. On September 10, 2025, a shooting took place at Evergreen High School in Jefferson County, Colorado. It was the 3rd week of school with about 1,100 students on campus. Weirdly, this happened right after a partial lunar eclipse, a blood moon, that occurred between September 7th and 8th. On forums like Reddit, people started linking this attack to something called the Harvest of Loosh, or Lush. This concept comes from a guy named Robert Monroe, who wrote a book in 1985 called Far Journeys about out-of-body experiences. According to him, there are interdimensional entities that don't eat food, they feed on human emotions. Specifically, negative ones like fear, pain, hate, and despair. They call this energy Loosh. The more suffering there is, the stronger and more valuable the energy. People who believe this theory say Earth is basically a farm designed to produce these emotions to feed these beings. They claim that mass tragedies are actually manufactured to generate fear in bulk. These theories blew up after the attack, especially because of the blood moon and the proximity to 9/11. A message even appeared on a forum predicting it. Blood moon, lunar eclipse 999. The shot heard around the world. Mass shooting at Evergreen High, Colorado. 9/11 Loosh harvest. This stuff is huge on subreddits like Raw Ray Simulation Theory. Believers think humans are being used for a purpose we can't understand, kind of like a cog in a machine that doesn't know what the machine does. They say these extra-dimensional beings, sometimes called archons, influence people to commit these acts. According to the investigation, the shooter, a 16-year-old student named Desmond Holly, identified as JM. Holly, in some reports, was heavily influenced by these theories. He believed that causing fear and pain helped feed these entities. Authorities stated the attack wasn't about bullying, it was about this bizarre belief system. On his socials, he shared quotes from Robert Monroe and was obsessed with past shootings. He was deep into paranormal sites and alternate reality theories. The FBI had actually received alerts back in July about suspicious messages regarding a great Loosh harvest, but they couldn't identify him in time to stop it. The police confirmed that J.M. Holly wounded 2 classmates before taking his own life. He had been radicalized online by an extremist group. Both victims are still hospitalized, with one in critical condition. It's terrifying to think about how many other young people might be falling down this rabbit hole right now. On July 16, 2025, a freak accident happened at an MRI center in Nassau, New York, and it's honestly straight up nightmare fuel. Ken McAllister, a 61-year-old man, was there keeping his wife Aiden company while she got an MRI on her knee. During the scan, she felt uncomfortable and asked for help getting off the table, so she requested her husband come in to assist her. Here's where it goes wrong. Ken walked into the room without taking off a heavy metal chain he was wearing around his neck. We're talking a chain that weighed over 20 pounds. The issue is, MRI machines aren't like other medical tech. They generate an insanely powerful magnetic field that never turns off. It's so strong it can violently rip metal objects across the room from feet away. The second Ken got close to the tunnel, that chain was brutally sucked into the machine, dragging him with it. He was pinned against the equipment, completely unable to free himself. The staff tried to help, but the magnet's pull was just too overpowering. Plus, you can't just unplug an MRI machine. Shutting down the magnetic field is a complex process that takes several minutes. Because of the extreme pressure and impact, Ken suffered severe injuries and went into cardiac arrest multiple times. He was rushed to the ER, but tragically he passed away the next day. The most disturbing part, his wife's testimony. She said right before he was dragged in, he looked at her, waved goodbye, and then his body just went limp. MRI centers have super strict protocols banning metal, and usually, staff are supposed to wand or check everyone who enters. Authorities are now investigating if there was negligence or a total failure of safety controls. His wife basically had to watch the machine swallow her husband while he faded away right in front of her. The internet is going crazy over this because it sounds exactly like a scene from Final Destination 6, which recently dropped and features a character losing their life to an MRI machine. And terrifyingly, this isn't the first time this has happened. Back in 2001, a machine pulled in an oxygen tank while a kid was inside, ending his life. And in 2018 in India, a worker was unalived by a metal cylinder near one of these magnets. If there's one takeaway here, it's to respect the safety protocols. Do not mess around with giant magnets. Switching gears to Japan, a brutal attack has completely shaken up social media. A 22-year-old streamer named Eri Sato was stabbed while live streaming in Tokyo. This went down on March 11. She was doing an IRL stream, just walking through the streets of Shinjuku and chatting with her chat, when suddenly she started screaming for help. A 42-year-old man named Kenichi stabbed her multiple times. Some reports say he even looked directly into the camera and kicked her body before trying to flee. Police arrived and arrested him on the spot. According to Japanese news reports, the guy attacked her with a 5-inch knife, stabbing her dozens of times in the neck and chest. He claimed he did it because she hadn't paid back money he lent her over the course of 3 years. Apparently, he gave her over 2.5 million yen, which is roughly 17,000 USD. Eri had allegedly asked for the money citing health and financial issues. When the clip went viral, the conversation in Japan got heated. While most people were horrified, some actually started victim blaming, saying she took advantage of him. But just to be clear, there's no proof she scammed him, and absolutely nothing justifies that level of violence. The attacker reportedly stalked her location, ran up to her, and started the assault. But get this, he told the police, I didn't intend to unalive her. He claimed he wanted to cause a massive incident so there would be a trial, and the whole world would know what kind of person Eri Sato really was. In his twisted logic, he thought stabbing her on stream was the way to expose her to her followers. On September 10, 2025 in Peru, a young sanitation worker named Luis Gutierrez disappeared. He went to work like any other day but never came home. As days went by, his family's anxiety spiked until they received images that crushed any hope of seeing him again. They were sent photos and videos showing Luis being held captive and tortured. The criminals demanded 20,000 sols for his return. In one video, Luis was sitting on the floor while voices threatened him and held a gun to his head. The family went straight to the police. Investigators found that before he vanished, Luis got a call from a woman, but the details didn't match up with what his friends said about that day. The weirdest part? Luis wasn't involved with gangs or dangerous people. Later, the family received another video of Luis, still in his work uniform. It turns out the threats didn't even start with him, they started with his great-uncle. The messages threatened to make the family disappear one by one, suggesting this was a vendetta against the family, not Luis specifically. Days later, Luis's body was found in the Moshe district. It was in horrific condition, burned and dismembered. Police believe this tragedy is linked to a turf war between criminal gangs in Trujillo. New Year's in New Orleans, Bourbon Street. It's one of the biggest party spots in the country. At 30:15 a.m., a truck smashed through a barricade and plowed into the crowd at full speed. As if that wasn't terrifying enough, the driver got out and started shooting at people. Police were already there for NYU security and managed to take the guy down. 2 officers were hit, and tragically, at least 11 people lost their lives with over 30 injured. The FBI immediately stepped in to investigate it as a potential act of terror. But here's the detail that blew up online. Famous YouTuber Germain Garmendia was right there on Bourbon Street that night. He and his friends had been partying in that exact spot but decided to head back to their hotel around 3:30 a.m., literally 15 minutes before the attack happened. He posted a video later saying he was safe but shaken. He said, "First of all, thanks to everyone who checked in, we're okay. But for those who don't know, we are in New Orleans." Yesterday at 3:05 a.m., on a street where everyone was celebrating, an attack happened. My friends and I were tired and decided to head back at 2:55 a.m. I looked at the time and thought, it's almost 3, let's go. We were basically 15 minutes away from being trapped in that chaos. If we had stayed just a little longer, who knows what would have happened. Talk about a terrifying close call. Also on September 10, 2025, apparently a cursed day, a massive accident happened in Iztapalapa, Mexico. A tanker truck carrying LP gas was speeding over the Concordia Bridge when it flipped. The impact caused a gas leak. You can see a massive white cloud engulfing the area in videos. Seconds later, a spark ignited it, causing a massive explosion with flames reaching yards away. The tragedy left 21 people dead and many more injured, but there were some heartbreaking stories of heroism. Alicia Matias, now being called the grandma hero, was there with her 2-year-old granddaughter Jaslyn. When the explosion hit, Alicia shielded the baby with her own body. A video actually shows her walking out of the flames carrying the child. Both were hospitalized. The baby survived after surgery for severe burns, but sadly, Alicia passed away 2 days later. Another tragic story involved a 19-year-old named Anna. Her boyfriend Brian reported her missing when she stopped replying to texts. He checked hospitals hoping she was injured, but they eventually found her phone and belongings in the wreckage. She was confirmed dead 2 days later. It's a brutal reminder of how dangerous transporting hazardous materials can be when safety is ignored. Jordanis Iscobos Martinez grew up in Cuba dreaming of being a soccer star. But at 37, those dreams were dead. He had immigrated to the US looking for a better life, but ended up working as a cleaner at the downtown Suites Dallas motel. His boss was a strict manager named Bob. On the morning of September 10, 2025, Jordanis snapped. He left his post, grabbed a machete he used for gardening, and unleashed a level of violence that traumatized everyone nearby. He beat his manager, forced him to his knees, and decapitated him right there in broad daylight. Witnesses say after the gruesome act, Jordanis looked at the severed head on the ground and said, "I'm not good for this job. What I'm good for is being a soccer player." Then, in a moment of pure psychological horror, he started kicking the head around like a soccer ball. It's a level of madness that's hard to even process. He's currently in custody, likely replaying the soccer matches he never got to play, while facing the reality of a life sentence. Finally, a story that paralyzed the US political scene. On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA and a massive conservative figure, was assassinated while giving a speech at Utah Valley University. He was doing a Q&A with about 3,000 students. He was sitting on stage listening to a question about mass shootings when a single shot rang out. He was hit in the neck and dropped instantly. Charlie was 31. Love him or hate him, he was huge in the political world, known for debating controversial topics like immigration and gender. The shot came from a sniper rifle 34 meters away. It was a pro hit. He bled out in seconds. Medics said there was almost zero chance of saving him outside of an operating room. A massive manhunt started, but the break in the case came from a mom in St. George, Utah. She saw the suspect's photo on the news and realized it was her son, Tyler Robinson. She revealed that Tyler had radically changed over the last year, moving far to the left politically and getting into intense conflicts with his conservative father. He was also dating a trans person, which caused family tension. Days before the shooting, Tyler had ranted about Kurt coming to the university, calling it stupid and accusing him of spreading hate. His parents eventually convinced him to turn himself in. After a 33-hour standoff and negotiation, he was arrested and is now facing charges for aggravated murder. The prosecutor even read texts Tyler sent to his partner that showed just how deep his ideological rage went.